Oh, yes. It is week 12. Help me out here, boys. One of those
12, yeah,
right?
week 12.
We've got to
12,
week
yeah.
12 already. Thursday night football is happening. It's the preview show. It's the NFL Around the UK show on Sportsmag UK. And how are we doing? I'm joined by the wonderful DJ and also Matty's in the corner there, but you know.
Wow.
Wow, look at that. One show and we're done.
corner.
One show and already the abuse starts. How you doing, DJ? Good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's good. Nice, decent week. Couple of a lot to talk about, as in regards to like shockers this week. I thought
Lots of strange news things.
Yeah. Other than that, yeah, all good.
Looking forward to diving into it. So, speaking of news, speaking of where we start, I mean, we have to start in New York because New York seems to be the hub of news this week. Do we go green or blue? Which one do we want to start with?
Don't know which is worse, to be honest.
You know what? Let's get it out there because
Shall we start?
I'm sure everyone is dying to hear what I think about the Jets and their absolute shambles of an organization. I am done with this team. Not that I was ever in with this team, but okay, right. Look, all I really
wait. Before we dive in, so unless you've been living under a rock, you might have missed the news that Woody Johnson, the owner of the New York Jets, has decided to, for want of a better description, clean slate. He's obviously getting ready for his next job in January, which is when he goes off and becomes Trump little puppet ambassador, probably to UK, like he was the last time Trump was in power. And so he's decided that Joe Douglas, who was, to be fair, in the last 6 weeks of a 6-year contract, so it was pretty likely he was leaving at the end of the season anyway. So Woody's decided, 6 weeks early, just to rub salt into the wounds, just to kind of show what, as you say, Matty, what a greatly run organization the Jets is. He's pulled the plug. He's fired the GM of the Jets. So now the Jets are coachless.
Yeah, no coach.
GM-less. Quarterbackless, potentially.
That's the next thing, yeah. That's the next thing that's come out.
And generally hopeless.
I think you've been quite nice there, to be honest, mate. I think you've been nice. I honestly, and I don't mean to just pile on. Like, I mean, in the same way I kind of do. Like, I feel like this has just become my entire personality now. I am a generational hater of this team. They just do my absolute nut in at this point. I'm not being funny. This guy had a contract.
I love those. I love these comments. I'm not being funny, but
I'm not being funny. This guy had a contract for the remaining 6 games of the season. What is the point of firing him? Okay. Now, I understand that someone like Joe Douglas is in a very privileged position, dare I say, in that he's one of the few GMs that drafted a quarterback very, very, very highly and managed to survive that all going sideways. And then was essentially in charge of this whole Aaron Rodgers thing. We can obviously discuss that in a minute. I would say quite clearly it's a failure. His win percentage as New York Jets quarterback is officially now lower than Zach Wilson, which is something definitely worth bearing in mind.
And Sam Darnold.
And Sam Darnold.
Let's not forget.
So
there's a nod to Alec, who's not joining us this evening.
Salah is gone. And shock horror, it seems like he was not the issue. Now Joe Douglas is gone. Like I said, this guy had a contract for another 6 games. What is the point? And now you've created this even bigger question mark around the whole Aaron Rodgers situation, because is a new GM going to want to come into this I would say genuinely incredibly toxic environment right now? And like, are they going to think, oh yeah, I really want Aaron Rodgers on this team? But also, is anyone
going to want the job?
Yeah, I mean, yes. Also, this because the way that people have been getting removed from their positions has been genuinely humiliating. Like, it's only really recently hit me how mental this whole Robert Saleh thing was. Like, he was literally just removed by security and not allowed to address the team or anything, which surely, regardless of owner's opinion, is genuinely diabolical. but whatever. That's
if you
his own thing. But yeah, now Joe Douglas has gone. Like, where do they go from this? Like, I mean, we haven't even talked really about the fact that they went in and got Devonta Adams, even though by that point it kind of felt like the season was already too far
done. Yeah, they're going to want that pick back. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Like, that's the kind of mid-round pick that would be kind of useful. And now, okay, you have Devonta Adams, but like, do you even have the guy under center moving forward? Like, what is this team? I don't understand. They're infuriating.
And there's rumors, there's rumbles, and obviously nothing is official, but there's a lot of news coming out of decisions that have been taken by the Jets organization that seem to have not been under Joe Douglas's control, or Salah being the opposite. Apparently, Salah and Joe Douglas being brought on was never Woody's choice. Late season, the Devontae Adams stuff seems to have been driven by Woody Johnson, not by Salah, not by the coaching, not by the GM. Seems like there's an underlying, and this is a big shock to anyone, an underlying sort of mess in that organization. Who would have thought, right?
What? No way. What?
Yeah, my question is, maybe it's good. Maybe they get ahead of the curve. They can, go out and do the search for the new GMs before everybody else, because they're getting ahead of Black Monday, the day where everybody gets fired in the NFL. They're ahead of the curve. They're 6 weeks ahead. But I question who's going to want to touch that.
I also
who's going to want to go near it.
Obviously, DJ, I'm really sorry. I feel like I just go nuclear when we're talking Jets.
No,
the other problem is okay, fine. They have gotten ahead of the curve. But this is assuming that someone like we are putting faith in Woody Johnson to be able to navigate this curve, because I am just not. Like, he seems like the kind of guy to me that's like, oh, there's a curve in the road, but I'm just going to keep my wheels pointing straight forward. I'll just, like there was that clip of the NASCAR driver that just like slammed it into the wall and just kind of overtook everyone on the outside. I just feel like he's hoping that's going to happen, right? Like, it feels like they tried with the high drafted quarterback. It's not worked. They went all in on this Aaron Rodgers thing. That has clearly not worked. Like, this possibly one of the biggest failures in the NFL. Like, going into this season, everyone was like, this is finally going to be it. Like, the Jets are so back, and shock horror, they're absolutely not. Like, this is horrendous, and I cannot overstate that. And I do not have faith in anything of this regime to get it right. And I get the Jets fans have gone through a lot. Like, this is quite a tortured fan base, I would say. Like, at least in recent Ishmael. I know obviously the franchise has history, but it's been a hot minute. Obviously, DJ, these guys rather directly compete with you. What's your perspective on this from like a divisional rival standpoint?
You must be loving it,
shit, to be honest. Yeah,
you must be loving the drama.
Care less.
Yeah,
but apart from that, I mean, look, it goes back to this saying: it's the same old Jets. To me, like Matty just said there, it seems very extreme to do this when there's like 6 weeks left. You might as well just leave the guy there, wait to the end of the season, then decide to go in saying, right, this isn't working. We're going to start from scratch and clean straight. But
yeah, I mean, to
be
fair, as Matty says, the record, I think Joe Douglas's record is something like 34-65.
Yeah,
it's a bad losing record, right? It's not great on any front. So, you just get fired for that. Fire him because of his record. It's just everything else that's making the news.
I mean, it's like you say, for a Jets fan, it's got to be so frustrating to be having to go back to this same scenario every two to 3 years when they think they've got a winning team now. Don't get me wrong. I think on paper, they should have been doing much more than what they are doing on the field. But we don't know where it all boils down to. We said a couple of weeks ago, oh, it's Rodgers having a moan, and then next minute Salah's gone. Now the GM is gone. Now there's rumors flying around that Rodgers probably won't even be there next year, but they brought in Devontae Adams. So, like, what is going on? Like, it's just another complete mess. I I really do not. I just really give up with them, to be honest. And from a Patriots perspective, I'm so glad this is happening to them and not us, because we were probably in the same boat maybe a year ago when Bill decided to go. It was like, well, what the hell we're going to do? But yeah, I really do think it starts from the ownership. I think there's got some major issues there.
I feel like probably my favorite thing to come out of this, though, and again, this isn't even to just like meme on either team at this point. It's just quite a genuinely funny observation. I keep seeing this meme on Twitter, and I don't have it to hand, but it's basically, you know, that meme of like those two guys handshaking that are obviously on different sides of an argument, and it literally says Jets with their highest expectations in like 60 years, Patriots with their lowest expectations in 60 years, both having a 3-8 record. And it's like, it's just genuinely funny that like the perspectives of both of these teams going into the season. Obviously, you know, like you've admitted, you weren't expecting big things from this season. No. And obviously the Jets fans, at least in my time watching the NFL, I've never known them be this excited. Like, I remember having conversations with with Dan, and he was the most realistic Jets fan there was, and he would often kind of joke like, "Oh yeah, we're going to win it all," and then be like, "No, actually, I know we're terrible." Yeah. And you know, when you look at the wildly different perspectives going into this season, I know you've both not ended. Obviously, the season's not over, but right now you're both in exactly the same situation. And at least I think with the Patriots, it's like I can see it feels like there's somewhere they're going with this. Obviously, this regime has got it very right before, so I have a lot more faith in them getting it right in the future.
Yeah.
I just look at this Jets organization and I just think they just look like someone stuck in a boat and they've lost one of their oars. So they're kind of just going in like circles, and it's just going to be this aggressive. The team's just going to keep blowing up every like 2 years, and then they'll be like, yeah, but don't worry, this time we'll get it right. And you're like, yeah, I just don't have any faith at all.
I mean, it's like what Gary said. I mean, who's willing to even touch that organization? I mean, Bill's out there as a GM and could possibly coach, but I don't see him going to the Jets. And it's like, who do you now draft if you're not going to go with Aaron Rodgers? I don't know. It's just to start all over again. It's when you've got a winning team now the way it is. It's mental.
I mean, they're going to have to tank for the rest of the season, right? Because as you say, they're on 3-8. Sure. They're not even guaranteed the best pick right now. They're in and them out the mix.
No, but there are some honking teams
top 10 easy.
There are some honking teams, you're right. But, you know, they're going to have to tank the rest and hope to get as good as possible. And as you say, rinse and repeat. And also, you know, as I say, it is an ownership issue. And the best worst case scenario about it is if the rumors are true, the current owner is going to bugger off for 4 years because Trump's going to send his buddy on a good little jolly for 4 years, and then the younger brother's going to take over, which is how the whole shenanigan started the last time round when Woody was off on his last ambassadorial role and his brother took over and hired Salah and hired Joe Douglas. It's like, wow, surely you can see that this is just a rinse and repeat.
Yes, you are quite literally doing exactly the same thing.
And expecting different results. I mean, we all know that is the absolute definition of being a New York Jets fan. You just feel for the fan base, and you feel for New York as a whole, right? Because it's such a huge market and such a
That's the only thing they've got going for them at the moment is because they're in New York.
It's because they're in New York. That is it. Otherwise, that would just be, it would be on fire. Fans would be, I don't know, rioting, you know, pulling the stadium apart or letting it fall apart if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan.
True.
You know, that's another one we can get to. But then, you know, the flip side of that is, hey, at least New York has another team, so it can't all be bad because the other team is probably doing.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Oh, they're doing slightly worse. What do you mean?
Well done, Big Blue. The return of Tommy Cutlets, the boy from New Jersey, is back. The agent on the sideline with the fedora. Everything about this is just
love it.
Comedy. I want to say it's comedy, but it's actually not. They're doing it. They are actually putting in Now, not a rookie, fair play. He's now in his second year. Pretty sure they didn't draft Tommy DeVito. I think he pretty much was an undrafted walk-on. Hey, I live round the corner. I'll come to do your practice squad. I can throw a ball around a bit. Now he's the starting QB again for an NFL team. A very bad NFL team, and there's no doubt about that. As you say, Matty, it's one of the honking teams this year. But
yes.
What are they doing? Why did they go out and say, hey, Drew Lock, come over. Yes, you're going to be the backup. But here's $5 million to be the backup, just in case Daniel Jones is not really the guy, even though everybody knows he's not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, Drew's press conference was...
Oh, painful.
Yeah. You could see his disappointment. You would have thought he would have at least had a shot at taking that starting position when they said that they were going to have a look at
evaluate the QB position.
Evaluate the whole thing. They had a bye.
He's got to be sitting there going, right, here we go.
I'm going to get my shot.
First team reps.
Yeah.
Skip him and go straight to... Wow. I'm surprised he's not put a trade request in straight away, to be honest, because what are you doing there? What do you do when you get absolutely, shafted by the organization who brought you over as a backup, and he knew he was a backup, fine. And now it's like, you can't play Drew Lock because he's on a contract with a load of incentives, and if he starts to play, then they might need to pay him a little bit more above what they're already paying him. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I think the incentives are like $500,000.
Yeah, which
chump change, right? Chump change for the
money,
NFL.
Obviously, quite a lot. For NFL owner money, forget about it. That is nothing. That's like
a good lunch.
Yeah, not even that. Is these we need to. Because I hate when people are like, but we don't have the money, and I'm like, have you seen how teams fiddle wage caps and stuff? Do not give it to me that they do not have the money. I don't want to hear it. I will not have it. I don't want to hear it. Yeah. It's a bit painful. It's probably more painful for the entirety of New York, but yeah, it's a weird one. I mean, other than the truly immaculate vibes that I won't lie. Like when he kind of came aboard last season, I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this is pretty funny. Like, because it was kind of like, oh, okay, it's a genuine New York, it's a proper guy, and even
Jersey boy, come on,
yeah, the agent with the fedora, the whole thing, and I was like, okay, this is kind of funny, and then you're like,
it was kind of what it got me. I thought, have they reprised The Sopranos, or is there a spin-off of The Sopranos? And this is just they've just asked the NFL, do you mind if we film and we get one of the Sopranos? Because they've put the feelers out, or they've got the Giants under the cosh, and as part of the payment they're putting one of their boys in. It's like, no, this isn't a joke.
Yeah.
That's what it kind of felt like initially. And he won 3 games. Let's not forget, he won games. It's just mad. It's just, I think.
I just wonder if it's because looking at, Daniel Jones, he released a press conference this afternoon, or just before we come on live, and it seemed to me like the way he was addressing the media and the way that he said his words in such precise ways, it felt like he was done.
Yeah,
as in he's done with this team. Either one. They've obviously felt he's lost a bit of the locker room, and there's no faith in him as a QB anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2, you've got DeVito that probably gives that a little bit of, like you say, comedy and stuff like that. So it brings a bit of excitement around. And that's probably why they're like, what? They're 3-8. They're going to tank it as well. And it's like,
well, what have we got to lose, right?
Yeah.
What have we got to lose?
For the Giants,
I did see that. I did see that Daniel Jones thing, and it did look quite a pointed statement of, we tried to work out the contract and that we couldn't, and therefore that's why I'm on the bench.
And I've also heard something to do with that they were playing him safety in practice today.
I heard that. Yeah, he was as part of the scout team. He was playing safety. You think, hang on, you just kind of argued over the injury cover or whatever else, and that's part of the guaranteed money in the contract. that they don't want to pay him the guaranteed injury waiver or whatever else. But then you go play him as safety, where he's probably more guaranteed to run into absolutely cause himself a massive injury. What are you doing? Are you looking across the other side and going, how badly organised are the Jets? Hold my beer. Let's do something even more dramatic.
Yeah,
what is going? Is it like the typical New Yorker kind of one-upmanship? You're bad. No, we're bad. No, you're bad. No, we're really bad.
It definitely feels like that. Yeah, just hold my meatball sub whilst we try this again. Yeah, I'm just having a quick browse through USA Today. But it looks like
other publications are available.
Yes, not to be to keep being impartial. But it sounds like obviously Jones is disappointed, but it does sound like he is. I guess like he's kind of come to terms with what happened. Like he's come out and said, "I'm 100% accountable for my part. I did not play well enough consistently to get the team results." He also sounds like he's still looking at ways to stay in the game, but for the sounds of this, it sounds like Daniel Jones and the Giants is done.
I think Daniel Jones as an NFL QB is done.
You don't think even as like a backup somewhere? You just think he's finished?
He's done. Depends
what they do in the draft. If they go QB, what top? They'll probably be in the top 5, maybe 6, 7.
Yeah.
So if they
go QB, they have to go QB. They might not. The only reason they might not is they might wait for the year after.
I see. Again, you know more about the cut. Are there some spicy
Texas QB? Longhorns backup QB
Hookem
has a certain surname.
Yeah,
is synonymous with the New York Giants. Archie Manning is the backup QB for the Texas Longhorns.
Oh, get it done. Get it done, New York.
He is not eligible. He is not He's not going into the draft this year. He is eligible to be drafted next year.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what? I'm going to make a
next year, but
I'm going to make a long-term prediction, and Lord knows whether we'll still be doing this enough to make note of what I've said. So I'm going to write it down. But I think give it. Wait, oh god, this is gonna be a bad idea. Wait, hang on. Let's actually write this down. Okay, I think give it 3 years, and Daniel Jones will be doing the Sam Darnold on another team.
Oh, you think so?
No, not really. But I've gone for it.
Back up, and then somebody will go down.
I'm going.
Yeah, maybe.
I've been on one show with Paul, and he's absolutely got me figured out. Yeah,
absolutely got you banged to rights there.
Probably my favorite thing on USA Today, though, because other publications are available. It did tell me to go straight to this page next. Drew Lock on getting passed up as Giants starting QB quotes an interesting situation. That's never a good thing. That's like when you know when a team is like, we're 100% behind this coach. And you're like,
we're all in. We're all in this year.
An interesting situation. Oh, that's never a good line.
Painful for New York fans at the moment. Definitely painful for New York fans. Yeah. But Danny Dimes, as Paul says, Danny Dimes doing a Sam Darnold in 3 years' time.
Danny Dimes doing a damn Darnold. It's on. I'm telling you.
Wow. I'm here for it. I don't believe it, but I'm here for it. That sounds like what Alex said about my Panthers pull out the window when I managed to pull that out. Other news. Where do we start? I mean, head coaches on the hot seat. Probably not worth talking too much about the Kyle Shanahan position. With Paul in the chat, Matty and I were lucky enough to go on the 49er Faithful show last night and talked a lot about Kyle Shanahan and his position. If anybody wants to know how Matty and I feel about it and how Paul and Flackers feel about it, go over, tune in, subscribe to the 49er Faithful UK podcast. You'll hear all about it over there.
Yeah, because that was an in-depth. That was like 45 minutes. That was a chat and a half about.
I mean, we were sensible and serious. We felt grown up.
I think you were sensible and serious. I was Probably pulling off some absolute. Matty had, wow, in a shock to absolutely nobody.
He had a surprising take.
What was that surprising take?
I'm not gonna lie, I already can't remember, which is dangerous.
Many of them to remember.
Yeah, I just keep spouting them, mate. I can't help it.
You have to go back and rewind it to get it.
Was that the surprising take that I behaved myself?
Yeah, that was a surprising take.
That is very.
So what other? I mean, obviously, let's have a look. Which teams are we looking at a complete disappointment? The Bungles?
Yeah.
You think they're done?
I think I think their playoff run is now done. I think.
Done. Do we think Zach Taylor's on the hot seat then?
I think he kind of has to be, but also I find, as much as I find the Jets frustrating, I'm kind of getting there with the Bengals, because the Bengals, in some instances, especially on Joe Burrow's shoulders, have played some absolutely ridiculous football. But their defense just cannot hold it together. Like, that offense has looked absolutely ridiculous. And you just look at some of the absolutely heartbreaking losses this team has gone through this season. Like, they have been brutal. Like, especially, I mean, both their encounters with the Ravens have been tough.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, I guess, has also been coin flips. So you've kind of also got to look at it as if, you know, if their defense could have held up, their record could be dramatically different. However, like we mentioned last night on the 49er Faithful UK Live, definitely go check it out. It's a fun show. Other podcasts are available.
They're just not as good.
Yeah, they're just not as good, yeah. But like we said last night, the only stat that really matters is wins and losses. And obviously, at the moment, Bengals are in a tough spot, especially with that division as well. Not that I think you have to worry too much about the Browns, but Steelers and the Ravens are two pretty serious football teams. And you know, that AFC is tough. I mean, I say that to be fair, in places like their record,
it doesn't look like it. It could be, but yeah, as for Burrows to Chase, and fortunately enough, it is a cheat code, and that is pretty much all they're going to have at the Bengals for the next however long, because that's the two contracts that they can afford next year, and that's
what I say. Bengals will be in some cap hell soon, so that's going to be another hit to their playoff chances moving forward as well. Because if they can't,
there's no way T. Higgins is still there.
And now on the defense side, you got to think you got to pay Chase.
Yeah, this kind of felt a bit like a need to have it year, didn't it? Like the last year.
This was the year.
The whole gang was going to be together. Yeah. It's,
and he's only going to get more expensive as the weeks progress. There you go.
Yeah. Every time. Because
he's outperforming what exactly. So then he's going to be obviously then saying, well, I need to be paid top wide receiver in the league.
I am wide receiver one, no matter what anybody else has got. Look at what I've just done. I mean, look what you just did against the Bengals. I mean, it was like 6 catches for like 400 yards or something insane.
So, will probably be gone.
Absolutely. He'll be gone. Yeah. So I mean, it is literally Burrows, Chase, and 51 other bodies that is going to be cheap as chips.
At least.
Going to get more, at least.
That's what I mean. It almost
always goes up, right?
It almost feels criminal that his deal wasn't done this offseason, because obviously the money that receivers were getting, obviously, Jefferson, Ayuk, St. Brown, there was obviously a lot of money flying around the wide receiver market. But I guarantee come next offseason, we're going to be looking at the numbers from this offseason, just go on and be like, those were some bargains, man. Like, the money is only going to just keep going up.
Brandon Ayuk last year, because look how much Chase has gone for. And the Bengals, again, another organization that don't do very well, they really are going to hurt themselves. They've hurt themselves already. They're going to feel that pain come the offseason when Jamar Chase comes knocking on the door going, excuse me, time for a new contract, and I want this much. And they're going to be like, oh, we could have got in last year if we'd have just given him 1 million more than Jefferson, because as long as he beat Jefferson last year, they'd have been happy.
Assuming they're going to tag him, aren't they?
Would he play under the franchise tag? I wouldn't if I was him. No guarantee. And I would if they tagged him, I would sit out.
This is the thing, right? With players now, they have so much
got
freedom.
power,
And
right?
like, tag me, I'm not playing. That's it.
I'm not playing. And he'll sit out for a year. It won't affect his stock in any way, shape, or form. Because everyone knows, like, damn right, you shouldn't get franchise tag. T. Higgins, I can get that he wanted to play and he wanted to, ball out and get I'll use the 1 year to push it. But Jamar Chase does not need a 1 year shot window. I'm on the franchise tag, come and get me season. Mm-hmm. He's had 4 of them already.
Yeah.
And it's very obvious how good he is as well, right? This isn't like this guy needs to prove that he's worth keeping around and we'll get it done. Like, everybody can see how ridiculous this guy is. This is not a debate. Like, not even remotely.
I mean, I don't know if it comes to like, I don't know what kind of situation, Burrow or contract he is. I'm guessing it's quite mega, but it might come down to him having to restructure to be able to, similar to what Brady used to do. He used to do a lot of restructuring because he wanted the players around him to be able to pay the players. So it might come down to a point where it's more guaranteed money, but less on the books for the cap.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they just need somebody. What the Bengals need to do is go and borrow the New Orleans Saints accountant, because how they've managed to get to the position they've been in. Yeah. And granted, it's going to come back and bite them in 2 or 3 years, but they've had 5 or 6 years of somehow managing to stay within the cap. Yeah. Anyway, so just seeing what Paul's. I don't think. Yeah, they won't tag him. They can't. They have to pay him. But how they pay him and how they do it, and then realize what else they've got in that team, it's going to be bizarre. Who else do we think is? I saw Matty there. Sorry, Paul. Matt mentioned way back up there. The Bears have got to be due a change, right?
At the same time. Yeah. What is going on with the Bears? Like,
the fact that they changed their OC might be smoke and mirrors, and kind of like, oh, look over here, we changed the OC, everything's fine now. Don't look over here at the head coach, which is a bit of a mess. I don't know. I don't know if that's bought them enough time.
Because I know we have discussed this before, in that I think everyone assumed the Bears were going to have that Texans of last season-esque season where they were going to kind of blow onto the scene and, things were going to go crazy. And I do, in a way, think that because people like myself, again, I'm very guilty of this, because they were so hyped up, I don't think that pressure has helped. I don't think the pressure of saying that Caleb Williams was this generational talent, which, by the way, I'm sure he is. I have faith in this kid that he will come good. But it's almost kind of like the Trevor Lawrence thing, right? It was like, he's a generational guy. This is going to be the guy. And when you've got other quarterbacks taking the same draft that weren't as highly thought of, that are at the moment quite clearly outperforming him, that's not helping, right? I feel like there's a lot narrative-wise on this Bears team that is really counting against them. So I feel like if maybe there wasn't so much of this going on and they kind of had this record, I don't think people would be sort of panic stations. But do you know what I mean? I feel like there's so much narratively that's going against this Bears team that it feels a bit doomed. So I don't know if maybe they've felt pressured into making that change, although it has felt like something's needed to change. Like, that offense hasn't been fantastic, especially with the pieces they added, as well as Caleb. That offense hasn't looked terribly exciting.
It did look better. It did look better against the Packers.
Yeah, it did. So, I just think it's for the Bears situation and the coach and staff that they've got. I don't think they're enough. Not experience, but I don't think they can develop Caleb into the player that we know he can be. That's my only worry. Now, don't get me wrong. If you stick like a Bill Belichick in there with Caleb, I reckon they'll be able to do something.
A coach that's been around and has developed players before and have seen how to do it.
Don't get me wrong. I think he does bring out the best in every quarterback that he's coached, but I don't know. Not as a head coach, though, just as an OC.
Yeah, an OC or a Q. Yeah, exactly. And it's an odd one. And, you wonder whether or not, and I love the pick. Caleb Williams, it was obvious he was going there. But I do wonder whether or not somebody somewhere has a bit of hindsight is going, we should have picked a tackle over Roma Dunze. We didn't really need another wide receiver. We could have got a really, really good offensive line.
Yeah, that's probably worth noting as well, right? It seems like a lot of the time Caleb is not having a terribly fun time in the pocket, if the pocket even exists. A lot of
I was going to say if he even has a pocket, yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely worth noting. Is I feel like there are factors to Caleb's kind of level of success.
Oh, I think he's the most sacked QB. He's sacked almost as much as the Washington QB last year so far.
Yeah, but it also seems like a lot of the time he's having to do so much to try and avoid the sack that it feels like. Could you imagine if he wasn't as mobile as he was? Like, he would just never be off the floor. Like, he is having to do so much extra work. Like, it's pretty painful watching sometimes. There are a lot.
And yet they were within a finger width of beating the Packers.
Yeah, I know. I said this yesterday on the live. I'm still not that in on the Packers. I don't know what it is. I'm not feeling.
They haven't got an identity. It feels like
no, they hit and miss.
They are totally hit and miss. It's an interesting scenario there.
Any other coaches that are worth mentioning? I feel like I bring up Doug Peterson every single week, but
how he's not sacked, I don't know.
Don't know.
How he's
just waiting.
What is going on in Jacksonville?
Jacksonville is
gracious.
I mean, Jacksonville is a special place in Florida, anyway, right? But how Peterson is not being shown the door or thrown to the crocodiles is beyond me, because this is a honking season.
Like in just every single aspect, like just everything that could go. It's just been
bad. It's just
really
bad.
horrendous. And I don't think anything caps it more than just the whole, like, the owner's comments at the beginning of the season being like, this is probably the best roster we've ever had under my ownership. Like, the time to win is now. And they're sitting at 2-9. I mean, oh dear. That's
It's not even like you're in the mix or anything, is it? It's like 2-9.
No, that's rough.
Yeah.
Come on, that is
get number one pick.
Like, the Titans are awful. The Titans are awful. Let me just one more time.
So how do you feel the Titans are, Matty? Just
awful. And before this season started, I was a bit high on the Titans. Another one of my really stupid takes.
You love Will Mayonnaise. You were
I really thought Captain Mayonnaise would carry this team. Turns out he has absolutely not. But the Jaguars are just a little bit worse, which, like, Hachi, that's not good.
Let's go to the other end of the table then, from absolutely honking teams to team at the top, current sort of number one standing in the AFC, who have just been knocked off of their undefeated perch. Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo Bills. What a game! As we thought it might be. Game of the week, game of whatever. Josh Allen does Josh Allen things. Matty, if you can try not to have a climax while
I can't help it, man. I am so in love with this man. But sorry, please continue.
So, I mean, this is one of those things, and people blame and say the same about Niners and 49ers fans. All of the Dolphins fans suddenly came back out of the woodworks. Looks, we're still the only undefeated team. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, the 77 team, wasn't it?
72. The 72 Dolphins have been bandied around, and everyone's giving a lot of the fans a lot of jip, going, that ain't even relevant anymore. You can kind of get the point, but it's still the only. It still is relevant because nobody else has done it. And DJ, you got very, 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 very close.
Yeah,
but they are still the only team who has gone through a whole season undefeated. Granted, the season was 10 weeks long and whatever else back then. There's lots of different things, but is it still relevant?
It's a bit of a weak source argument, though, isn't it? Like, if the biggest stick to beat someone with by week 12 is that, haha, you're not undefeated, I think they're going to be just fine. Like, obviously, I'm sure they'd like to be undefeated, but if that is the biggest thing you have to throw at them, going into week 12 of the NFL season, I
Yeah.
don't think they're too asked about your take about their team, right? Like, I think they're going to be just fine.
They're going to be here. I mean, and I guess somebody at some point will go undefeated. That 72 season is going to be over. It is going to be superseded at some point. But, let's give the Dolphins their due. They are still the only team that's done it and have gone all the way through and won everything. So fair play to them. They might as well live in their glory from previous years because they haven't had much to shout about since. So give them their flowers. They can have that one.
Yeah.
And, we can't, as 49ers fans, really begrudge them because we do like to hark back to past glories ourselves. So, we can't really be too judgmental on them. Well, actually, we can, but we shouldn't.
That's what we're here for, Gabe.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. So what do we think of Josh Allen? What do we think of the Bills?
Yeah.
What do we think of the Bills situation? What do we think of the way that they handled the Chiefs?
Yeah, maybe
they
I will fill out.
They were a lot more aggressive
talking about the Bills
than recent sort of way of playing. They went for things a bit more. They didn't take the same option of the field goal and stuff. So I thought it was an interesting game to watch that.
To me, it kind of felt the Chiefs were due a loss soon. Didn't know when, but this was probably the perfect game to lose the game. Now, don't get me wrong. I reckon these two will battle it out in the playoffs to go to the Super Bowl. But yeah, at the end of the night, at the end of the day, it did feel that the Bills were a bit more aggressive and they kind of figured out what the Chiefs' gameplay was going into the game as well. But my God, Josh Allen, he did stand out in this game. It to me, he's now gone above and beyond that extra mile for me. I think he's now stepped up as that leader for the Bills. And
has he jumped to number one in the MVP race?
He's my number one now.
Yeah,
for sure. That play he did to what was it, 4-2 or 4-3?
4-2, yeah.
And he bounced off like six of those players to get into the end zone. Wow. Yeah. That was just
that's the kind of MVP-esque plays that elevate your team, as elevate the game, make a big difference. I wonder whether or not it was a bigger game for the Bills than it was for the Chiefs. The Chiefs are like, maybe in a weird way, kind of like, thank God somebody's beaten us, so we don't get the whole undefeated, who's going to beat the undefeated Chiefs pressure build up as they get deeper in. So it's done, it's out of the way, so they can just carry on. Because the Chiefs have not been playing really well. We all know that. The Chiefs have not been great, but yet they were undefeated. So it's good for them that they've got it out of the way. But it felt like the Bills wanted it more and everything else. And it was bigger. It was a bigger result for the Bills, which is weird because the Bills always beat the Chiefs in a regular season. It's just when they hit the playoffs, they can't do it. It
kind of almost felt like Andy Reid, he just didn't want not like he was going to lose or he knew he was going to lose. It just kind of felt like, right, we're going to see you in a couple of weeks' time in playoffs. I'm not going to show everything that I've got on the cards now. But when it comes to that playoff game,
this is the dress rehearsal. It's totally different. You've got,
yeah. This is the
shown
thought.
everything to them now.
Yeah, I think this is just the worry when it kind of comes to the Chiefs. Right? It just feels like they are just somewhat
playing 3D chess, aren't they?
There's all those kind of clips of Travis Kelce after the game that do have that kind of feel to them. Very like, yeah, all right, good game. You got one over on us. We'll see you in January. And then it's like, okay, then it's going to be serious. And like you said, that is when the Bills need to get over this hump because they've shown they can do it. And we know they have the talent to do it. I mean, obviously, the Bills roster was looking a bit weird coming into this season, but they're looking good. And
very surprising.
If Josh Allen keeps playing like this, I mean, that play I just read, when he tucked the ball and decided to run it, that play had a 1.2% chance of working out in a touchdown, according to Amazon Next Gen stats. That man is ridiculous, like genuinely. And I'm not just trying to like fumble over this guy. When Josh Allen is on it, I think he is about as unplayable as any quarterback in the NFL. I think he is genuinely ridiculous. Has an absolute cannon for an arm, but can also just make plays like that where he will just do it himself and not rely on anybody else. But yeah, it's always going to be that situation, right? Like they need to do this in the playoffs. Otherwise, this victory right now is good, and I guess it's going to be a morale booster for the Bills. And
It don't mean shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably not going to have that much effect on the Chiefs. The Chiefs know they're going to be
fine. It helps
but,
the rest of the NFL as well. But.
Yeah, but they need to do it when it really matters. Obviously, the Chiefs have the Panthers coming up this week, so potentially 2 losses in a row. We could see that.
Don't write it out. Bryce Young is flying. He's on a win streak. 2 wins.
Bryce Young's on fire. Chiefs defense is terrified. I tell you, it's coming. It's coming.
Bryce Young's on fire.
Yeah.
Anyway, we digress. I can't see it, but it would be interesting to see if they did falter. Yeah.
I guess probably just worth mentioning, because we brought up MVP and stuff. I think the reason this puts Josh Allen clear is having a game like that against the Chiefs when I guess we would all say probably Lamar Jackson, probably the other favorite for MVP.
Yeah.
Had a bit of a shaky week against the Steelers, I think would be a nice way to put it. But although
Lamar Jackson had his standard games against AFC North opponents.
Yeah, it just seems like I didn't realize until I watched the highlights back that they were just talking about his record against the Steelers is really, really bad.
Really bad. Yeah.
And for such a phenomenally talented guy like that, you kind of don't expect him to have those teams that like he just cannot work out how to beat them. And yet the Steelers, who are kind of the same boat as the Chiefs, maybe, are like one of the most impressive teams right now. Just kind of carried on doing Steelers things. So I suppose that is what kind of throws this MVP thing wide open. I mean, is there anyone else worth a mention? Like, does Jared Goff get a mention here? I know the Lions.
I think so. Yeah.
The Lions are
supposed to be.
I was just about to mention about Lamar. Like, I'm comparing him this season to what he did last year, and I think last year topped what he's doing this year. So that's why I feel Josh Allen is definitely above him slightly now. But I reckon, like you just said there, mate, Goff is not far behind.
I think he's got to be in the conversation. He's got
the MVP award annoys me.
Yeah, because it's always QB.
Yeah.
Is this do we have a groin Gary?
We may be getting close to maybe. What really grinds my gears is the MVP award, because it has been now for the last however long given to a QB.
Mm-hmm.
And as you just, Josh Allen, I get, right, he is the MVP for that organization. There isn't a better player on their roster. The Baltimore Ravens, you could argue, have a better player on their offense who is more worthy of the MVP right now than their QB, but he's not getting mentioned. He'll probably get Offensive Player of the Year because that's the default backup award that they give to the best
assuming
players.
You're going Derrick Henry.
Yes. Derrick Henry. Much like Christian McCaffrey should be MVP last year. He should have been league MVP, but he's not a QB, so therefore he had to get Offensive Player of the Year. And it's almost like the MVP has to be a QB, but it shouldn't, because it's the most valuable player. It's not the most valuable player who plays QB. And it really annoys me. And that's the Jared Goff one really annoys me, because Jared Goff is playing really well. Absolutely can't deny that. But he's not the most valuable player on that team. Which you could say if you took Amon Ross Brown out, or David Montgomery, or Jahmyr Gibbs, that team wouldn't be the same.
Or if you gave him like the 49ers offensive line, or any other offensive line that does not work, like an absolute truck.
Yeah.
Because that Lions offensive line, like, credit where credit's due, mental. I like how they do so much of a better job than just about anyone else in the NFL.
Absolutely is.
kind of crazy. So
And you
yeah,
could
I get
say
what you
so.
mean. There's factors involved in it.
There's absolute factors. I mean, you could almost say, what, Jamar Chase's numbers, he should be in the running for an MVP sort of conversation. But if anybody on the Bengals would be in MVP conversations, it's the guys throwing the ball to Chase. And it shouldn't be. The MVP should be open to absolutely every position, but it's not. It seems to be a closed book, and it's really annoying sometimes.
It's a bit of an interesting take. I just think, purely from a numbers perspective, I think Joe Burrow could be in this conversation, And I understand fully that a team with their record, it will never happen. I don't think the media and the people that have the votes would ever do that. But I think you just have to say, purely from a stats point of view, and even from the eye test,
numbers are insane. Yeah,
you would.
He's the
have
lead.
a hard
He's the
time.
lead offensive playing player,
yeah.
passing, and Jamar Chase is the WR. So
again,
why they're not in the conversation?
So frustrating, so annoying. But yeah, if it is, as I would say it should be, and is based purely on like how is that individual performing, I suppose where it falls down is most valuable player. You are the most valuable player, but if your team is losing, but then a lot of that's not on him. So I kind of get what you mean. I feel like a lot of this award does kind of fall away, right? Because you could have the NFL, I suppose, is hard. You could have someone playing the best football of their career, but be on like the Carolina Panthers, so it doesn't get noticed. And like you said, it will just never get talked about because the team is a floating trash fire with this one diamond in there. But no one will talk about it because it is just involved in this thing that's crashed.
Nobody wants to touch it because it's toxic. Yeah, don't touch it. Yeah.
Do you know who's the leading scoring touchdown player?
I'm going to assume it's someone I would really not expect it to be. Is it not Derrick Henry? I'm assuming it's not. It is. There we go. Wow. Okay.
I think the most
not even a wide receiver.
It's not even. Yeah, the most.
I'm assuming this is Russian
11, right?
And combined.
Yeah, but he has had some ridiculous games, hasn't he? Where he scored like 2-3 touchdowns a game. He's done a lot.
Yeah.
Especially now they've figured it out. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's why I think he should be getting it, but he'll end up defaulting to offensive player of the year.
Yeah.
And it'll go to the guy. It'll go to a QB. It's annoying because it should.
I missed it always goes offensive as well. Why can't a defensive player like JJ?
Yeah,
did JJ Watt not win it last defensively? Or
defensive player of the year? Micah Parsons, defensive player of the year.
I don't think he won MVP though, did he?
I don't think they've ever given it to him.
No,
I don't say ever.
It's crazy.
I'm sure it probably has happened because I know
it has gone to defensive players before.
The day, there've been like kickers, which is just.
Did Sanders not get it once? No, probably not. Should have done, but no. But I think for the last however long, it's always been an offensive player.
The last running back to win it was Adrian Peterson in 2012. That's a running back.
Defensively, is he the last non-QB offensive?
Yeah, he's the last non-QB.
Okay. Adrian Peterson, 2012.
Jeez. Yeah, so then for the last 11 and probably this year as well. So for the last presumably 12 seasons, it's been an exclusively QB.
1986.
Last defensive player to win it.
Middle linebacker Lawrence Taylor from the Giants.
LT. Yeah. LT. 56.
58 years. Wow.
1986.
To be honest, if that's the last defensive player who ever wins MVP, I wouldn't be that surprised.
Is this the NFL historians coming out here?
I mean, he changed the game. LT changed the game. He was the reason why left tackles are so highly prized and so highly paid in the NFL. Lawrence Taylor was phenomenal. He destroyed teams. He destroyed games. He was amazing. I'm not surprised. I should have realized it was him. Can't think of anybody subsequently that had the impact that he had on the game. But yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
1982. Mark Mosley. Never heard of him. Washington.
That wasn't 82. Hang on. Wasn't 82 the strike year?
I don't know. I just said.
I just think it's phenomenal that a kicker's won the award. Like, that's amazing.
Strike. I think that could have been the strike year. So nobody would get MVP because everyone was out on strike for half the season.
Mental.
Anyway, way back in the histories. First year that the NFL was shown in the UK, and half of it was on strike. It was not the great introduction to the NFL for most of us.
Fantastic.
There you go.
Amazing.
See, you never expected to get some NFL history on this show. Who knows what you're going to get on the
See,
NFL
we
around
just
the
offer
UK.
a little bit of everything over here.
A little bit of everything. I think
Little bit of
we've covered everything. Looking forward to Sunday. Some interesting games. So we've got 4 minutes. Let's talk about the preview of tonight's game.
Oh yeah, there's a game happening today.
There is a game. There is a game happening Friday morning. The Browns are going to stink. The Steelers are probably just going to roll over them. Can't imagine this is going to be anything other than two defenses stopping two offenses. The Steelers' offense might be just good enough, whereas the Browns and Jameis Winston are probably not going to be quite there, and will probably throw the ball more to the guys in black and yellow than they will to the guys in white and orange.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
Right.
That's what Jameis does.
Hear me out. I wouldn't be surprised here if the Browns do an upset.
It's an AFC North game. Literally,
North.
that deserves
Browns are at home. It's just one of those games where you don't think that's going to happen, and then out of the blue, bang.
To be fair, the AFC North I do find one of the most confusing divisions. Like, was it literally a couple of weeks ago? Was it Ravens Browns? And I believe the Browns knocked off the Ravens at one point, didn't they? They did. Browns 29, Ravens 24. So the Browns, no matter how stinking they are,
that's Lamar in the AFC North.
Yes, true. But I suppose it would show that the Browns do have form for this. That no matter how stinking they are, well, I mean, like we've always said, it's a divisional game. Divisional games are different. Like, it does not matter how horrific your opponent is. It's a divisional game. They will know a lot more about your game than any of the other teams that they have to worry about all year. Yeah. Obviously the Browns, I mean, we've talked about them enough. They've got problems. We all know they've got problems. The fan base knows they've got problems.
The team know they've got problems.
The team are very aware they've got problems. But if there's one thing they can sometimes do, it's play defensive football, and play defensive football they can sometimes do pretty well. I mean, it's an AFC North game. All I know is someone's getting hurt.
Lots of people. It's going to be painful to watch.
It's going to be savage.
Who's going to get hurt is anybody who's, and we love these guys, but the Browns and the Steelers fans who stay up to watch that, those are the ones who are probably going to feel the pain more than anybody.
Yes.
Especially in the UK, staying up until 4:30 in the morning to watch that. It's a toughie.
It's gonna be brutal. You must just be a bit scared if you get drafted by an AFC North team. You just think like, oh, amazing. Oh no, I've got to play in that division.
I got drafted. Oh,
my career is not going to be long yet.
This could be a one career, one contract and done here. It's like, it's not great at all. DJ, Matty, thanks very much for your input. It's been a wonderful hour. If you are watching, you're out there, thank you in the chat, Paul. Appreciate you jumping in. Please do go and hit the buttons underneath, like, subscribe, make sure you're notified for all the other options and all the other shows that will be coming to the network. Matty, we will be back on Sunday. You are going to be here for the NFL Around the UK Sunday roast.
Yeah, should be lurking around, mate. You know me, can't miss my Sunday roast.
Can't miss your Sunday roast, DJ. We won't see you on Sunday. Obviously, you've got busy time. We got to try and get you on and get some
Thursday
stuff. Yeah, we'll get you back on next Thursday. I'll be back on Sunday with Bo and JT with the NFC West show in preparation for a massive game in the NFC West. As Paul says, like and subscribe to the Autumn Network. And we'll be back also on Sports Mag. We'll have the Premier League show back soon on Monday. And that's going to be a hell of a lot of fun when we get Gino.
Love watching that. Love
it. It's a great show. Oh baby, that's gonna be fun on Monday. But until then, folks, thank you very much for watching on Sports Mag. This has been NFL Around the UK. I've been your host, Gary or Groovy. And as it says, hit like and subscribe. DJ, Matty, thanks very much, everybody. Thanks for watching, and good night.
See you later.